Hey JW, welcome in. If you're watching, please make sure to hit that like button. And if you start watching this after the live, please hit that like button. It'll help push this content. I want you to listen to Peter Schiff as we allow some of us to get in here. He talks about what happened today with the, well, you'll hear about with the economy, what was released today.
Hopefully some of you took advantage of that commercial break to hit that like button. And if you didn't do it, you'll have one more chance on the next break. In the meantime, I was talking about the horrible Treasury bond auction that we had yesterday. And what's amazing about these bond auctions is that anybody bothers to show up. I mean, why do people want these bonds? That is the real threat. One of these days, there's going to be a Treasury bond auction, and there will be no bidders. You want to make sure that when that day arrives, you've got all the gold that you need. Because if you don't have it at that point, you won't be able to buy it because the price will be too high. That'll be the end of it. Because if nobody shows up, well, then the party's over. Now, of course, the Fed will crash the party and be the buyer, not of last resort, but of only resort. But that means it's over. That means the U.S. government is done. It can't continue the Ponzi anymore because there's no suckers left to buy. And so it's the American public, the dollar holders that are the bag holders, because now they own a currency that is going to collapse in value. You know, I was listening to this guy on CNBC, and this is about inflation. And I got some inflation numbers. We got the CPI.
This is what I want everybody to listen to. I just wanted you to hear the message with gold. Welcome in, Terry. Thank you so much for tuning in. Mitchell, good evening. Thank you for tuning in. Yes, JW, we're going to have some fun. He's just going to go over the numbers real quick from what was released today.
Came out yesterday, PPI on Wednesday.
Sorry.
I'm going to talk about both of those numbers. But because the inflation numbers were coming out, they were, on CBC, they were devoting some coverage to this. And this guy was on there. I don't remember, where he worked for, but they were really must have looked far and wide to find a guy, this ignorant to bring on the air. But he's talking about the Fed and inflation. And he said, the Fed really can't do anything to bring the inflation rate down. Their policy tools really don't work. And he said, because remember all the years that inflation was below 2% and the Fed was trying like hell to get it up to 2%? He said it didn't work. The policy had no effect. And so the Fed wasn't able to get inflation up to 2% using its tools. And now that it's above 2%, it's not going to be able to bring it back down.
Okay, so we'll continue this at the end of this live. If anybody's interested, I'll play a couple minutes as we do our little relaxation together. Today it's FOMO Friday. So if you're interested in buying our little bit that we're going to buy today of Algo, and then we're going to look at, we'll look at Flare today as well. I know a lot of people ask me about Flare. It's down pretty far right now. So we'll take a look at that later on as well if we get into the flow here. So good evening, 7:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Friday, October 13th, 2023. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in on this Friday evening. We're about to have the daily close here at 8 o'clock, which means the futures markets will be offline until Monday morning. Well, until Sunday night, to be precise. But yeah, I'm going to have Flare on here just so I can keep it on here. Because I'm going to be looking at it more because it's down a substantial amount. Just a substantial amount right now. So let's get into XRP. We're up 0.7% or 0034 on the day, up to 4863. We're still below our critical pattern formation that we want to be on the top side. Mike, welcome in. Jeffrey, good evening. I appreciate that. I will try my hardest to keep up the good work. Mike, 1:25 a.m. in Italy. That's where my family's from. I'm second generation from the Roma, Italy area. Let's see. So we're still below a critical formation here. We wanted to be above the pivot point at 524, but we still had a chance to start breaking up just a little bit. Milano, nice. Excellent. Always nice to have somebody from Italy in the house. XRP remains below this pattern formation on the breakdown. This is your bull flag disguised in a bear flag. It can still break to the top side, but if you continue going down in this downward fashion, that will probably end up more bearish than bullish. So we're going to fail to break the 494 before the daily close. I don't see any way in 33 minutes we're going to come up. I'm just not seeing the buying pressure across the board. So that's what we're looking at. This is an overall bear flag still, and it looks like a right arm. If this is a right arm on this head and shoulders pattern and this bear flag needs to come through, you got a left head, right arm. If this is meant to come through, you will come back to the uptrending support eventually. That's where it looks like it wants to come down. Could you stop down here? I suppose you could. And then you could just maybe bounce around in here and then maybe break out. But that's still a pretty big drop from where we're at right now. So we'll see what happens here. But right now, if we take another, something similar in the market like XLM, it was in that exact formation XRP was, and it broke it. So are we to believe that XRP is behind XLM, or is XLM running unopposed here onto the downside? Something larger seems to be speaking here. It really does. So we're going to see. We're going to see if XRP follows this trajectory. I would expect XLM, maybe on a thinly traded weekend, to come up here maybe to 11 cents or possibly 11.5 to try to retest this area. But the technical target on this break of this structure is down at 8 cents. So now I only show you that and continue to push that with XLM because XRP looks identical to how XLM did before that breakthrough. And I think the best example to show, I mean, literally, if we break down from here, it does exactly what XLM does, and that would bring you down to the 2020 uptrend. Been a little while. How's it going, Tom? Capo, it's going great. It's going great. I cannot complain. Cannot complain. I appreciate everybody tuning in. 33 people watching, 18 likes. Make sure you hit that like button, as it will greatly help push this content through the algorithm. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it more than you know. So that's where I'm at with XRP. I know it's a Friday night. I know everybody's doing their own thing. I really appreciate everybody who's tuning in. Oh, Johnson, hope everyone is calm and accumulating. Yes, that's the time we're in. John Hall, welcome in, my friend. And I seen somebody else as well that I need to, after I get another comment, I will acknowledge you as well, Mississippi. So that's what I'm seeing with XRP. Not really much more to say with XRP. We're stuck within this formation. Are we going to continue breaking down and eventually come down to the 2020 uptrend, which is where I believe is the most opportune area to buy? If you buy within this uptrend, it not only started before the bull run in 21, but it also sustained the breakdown so far in this so far of a bear market. So that's why I like that 2020 uptrend, honestly. Mississippi, Mr. Tom, the baddest man on the net with the TA and the best conversations. Appreciate you very much. Thank you, Mississippi. I appreciate that. George, yes. You might get your wish here. And welcome in, George. Thanks for tuning in. You might get your wish of a further drop. The death cross is still very much intact. We got rejected. And if you're just looking at this from a logical standpoint, the technical breakdown should be somewhere around 36, 37 cents. Now, could it get stopped by this downtrending support? It sure could at 41.5 cents roughly. Or could it get held up a little bit here on the the rising channel from June of 22? It could. So really, you could come down here to consolidate, but it's right around the same area, as you can see. They're converging within that 413, 414 area now. So I think what we're showing is probably a breakdown in this area. This is what it looks like it wants to do. This would satisfy the move from XLM if it comes down to that rising channel support from June of 22. If that June of 22 support breaks, you're firmly in the grasp of the 2020 uptrend. So, and now you can see, if we just pull this out a little farther, this lines up pretty perfectly to that 413 on the rising channel. So, I mean, if this breaks, you should be looking at this area down here at 35.5 cents. It's not guaranteed it breaks, but you could be trending into that area on a rather steep slope here. So, that's what I'm honestly seeing. You're more than welcome to tell me whether I'm right or wrong. Let's take a look at Bitcoin here while I have your attention. Up $70 or 26,826. We're still down underneath this broadening wedge. We had a broadening wedge we broke down from, and we're still on the bearish side of town. We had a support, resistance, support, and then we came through. And now we're showing resistance on that broadening wedge, but on the bottom side. And this is also in a death cross here that we were unable to get out of, and we're being rejected again. The technical breakdown, if you lose 25,194 again, would be all the way down here to 21,700 approximately. That very well could happen. You can't see the numbers, it's blurry. I would suggest restarting the live, honestly. I put this out in the highest quality available on YouTube. That's why I bought this tablet, so that it could run in the highest. I will try to explain it better. What's the lowest you think it could go? Honestly, the lowest right now you'd be looking at, and you can't look past this, the 2020 uptrend. I think that is an excellent, excellent area to start paying attention to if we're looking at the lowest possible numbers, is that 2020 uptrend. And the reason I say that is you can come all the way back here when it started. Back here in 20, this is May of 2020. It bounced off this support. It was already back here too, but the point is that in here in 2020, it bounced all the way up with XRP. Then it came all the way back down, and it held it through a bull market. It still held that new uptrend from 2020. Now it came up, so I would suspect that 2020 uptrend should be where we target. That's what I suspect. So 35.5 cents would be the floor right now. Unless it came through there, and now you start hunting the 2017 uptrend, then you're talking around 20 cents. But as of right now, the floor should be, until broken, until we see otherwise, would be about 35.5 cents. Tanya, welcome in, love. My birthday sister. I appreciate you tuning in. Doing great. I'm doing great. Awesome, George. I'm so glad it worked. Thank you for updating me, too. A lot of times, some people will tell me it comes in a certain way, but when they reset or restart, they don't tell me if it actually worked. So then I'm left wondering. So I really appreciate you telling me. With Bitcoin, if you're asking the worst we could hope for, if this validates and this is in fact death cross plays down, I know the numbers are converging, but we haven't had that big breakdown yet. If this is a resistance here, you could find yourselves down here again at 25,194. And then if that breaches, you're coming way down. You do have an area down here. It's like 24,800 area. That technically, yes, you could hold. And we would have to do our due diligence and just say you could hold that area. But that's like an overextension. You'd probably come down to the bottom of that channel that's forming. And it's formed off of the broadening wedge as the downtrending resistance, which is not a good sign if it breaks down. The XRP market cap, as we know yesterday, lost $500 million. But we broke down. We were unable to hold the 28 billion up here. Now we're on the bottom side. Technically, if you are under 27 billion and this is a rejection point, your technical next big move could be all the way down to around 21.3 billion. If this structure breaks, like we're talking about with XLM, if this breaks, expect yourselves down here somewhere about 21.5 billion. I don't say this to scare everybody. I say this so that we know what's coming. We're looking at somewhere about a 17 to 20% drop, likely. These death crosses are here for a reason. They're lagging indicators, which is why right when it told you that we had a death cross, we pumped. Because it's a lagging indicator. Then we invalidated the death cross from a indicator standpoint, and then it just came back through and people got excited. So this is exactly what's happening. Infamous, welcome in. I greatly appreciate your commitment. MKP Afternoon Time, sorry I missed you earlier. I'll read that once I see the rest of it, but don't apologize. You've done more than enough just tuning in on a daily basis, honestly. Everybody who's here does more than enough. More than enough. Asked if I was still in the chat room, had a call to take. Oh, okay, MKP. Excellent. Yes, Infamous, I did actually. I actually just read it. I can go over that with you. It'll be easier for me to talk to you about it live on air. But Infamous, MK, well, I'll go back to show you. I believe you asked about algo earlier. Wait a minute. Was it algo earlier you asked about? So I've had a lot of stuff today. Okay, so Infamous. No, it is not there anymore. It is not there anymore. Wow. That is weird. I seen your I seen when you sent yesterday about the debt clock, and that's what I noticed too. I couldn't figure out why the image wasn't there. So thank you. Yes, when you went to the debtclock.org, now I remember. Now I remember. The image is absolutely not there. It's absolutely not there, and it's weird. It's weird. So what do we think about this, ladies and gentlemen? Does that seem like a likely breakdown spot? We have 46 people in here now. Fantastic. Fantastic. And then was I right? Were you in here for algo earlier? I feel like you asked me. Maybe it wasn't algo. MKP, was it algo? No, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was something else. I feel like you asked me something else. Oh, that's right. You asked me the lowest possible spot it could go to. That's right. That's right. I think, honestly, like I was showing, I don't know how much you've seen. I think because of what we've done, I think we really have to pay attention to the 2020 uptrend until it ceases to hold, for the fact that we did what I'm about to show. I'll do it one more time for you. The fact we started this newfound uptrend here, and you can go farther back, but this is before the parabolic spike. So May of 2020, went all the way up to that $1.98, crashed back down, still hold that support. Bounce back out. Now it seems likely we'd retest that uptrend, the 2020 uptrend. So if we're basing it on that parameter, which this can bring you out until December of 2024, the floor would be 35.5 cents. Now, if you want to start talking below that, then you'd have to come to the 2017, and then that's when you start talking around 20 cents and sub 20 cents. But right now, I would say you're trying to stack towards the 2020 uptrend is what I would say. And then if it breaks out, it breaks out, but that's where the next technical move will be down to. These short-term patterns really don't mean much if we have a technical breakdown. They're good for short-term support and resistance, but for a technical breakdown or breakout, the only numbers that matter here is this 54 cents and this uptrending support at 35.5. And once you break this, the next number that really matters is all the way up here at about 90 cents, 88 cents. So, really enjoy the return to positivity and away from the doldrums. Prices go up. Exactly, Terry. Exactly. Sometimes it's a learning capability for me. And right now, it's the best time for me because, we had a little reshuffle. And the crazy thing is we went down to, and this is a great thing, like I said yesterday, some people shouldn't be here because they, honestly, if they don't want to trade XRP for the long term, this is the wrong channel. Because I'm speaking of it on a positivity from a long term, not from what's going to happen in the next 6 months, or the next couple months if we do have to run back down. And we're also talking from a standpoint where we have room in between our buy-in. And then we have time to set up a return rally to the downside if we do break through. But we went down to 18,501 subscribers, and now all of a sudden it bounced back up to 18,512 in just the last day. So, you shuffle, people leave, but then people come back. There's newer people, and then it re-solidifies the audience you have. But the positive way and understanding where we're at is the way to go. So yeah, that's my understanding and interpretation with XRP. Would anybody disagree with what I'm saying? Would anybody disagree, honestly? And then this is something I wanted to cover. I was going to put out an update about this to watch for this speculation, but I decided to do it during the live. And Terry, I think you'll appreciate us just covering this during the live as well. So, you give us great understanding, brother. Hey, Crypto Scrooge, welcome in. I appreciate you tuning in. You're very busy on YouTube yourself, my friend. And you're getting up there towards those special numbers. Make sure you watch Crypto Scrooge here on YouTube. Click his profile. Mike, completely agree. Thank you so much. So this is something that was perpetrated around the media. You didn't hear me cover it because it was just that speculation. But I figured I would talk about it during live. So Ripple's XRP burn, another social media fake. Recent chatter surrounding a potential large-scale burn of Ripple XRP has caught significant attention within the community. There's excitement in my presentation again. I think so, Terry. What ended up happening is sometimes I watched you today. Didn't know you was from the UK. Ah, yeah, Crypto Scrooge. Yes, he is. He's a fellow mate on the other side of the world from me. But yeah, I understand the positive. Remember, I think it was 3 days ago I came on and I started doing the rundown before my update. That's when I'm at my best. And I came on and I said things needed to change. It wasn't the content in itself. It was the sound. You have to sound like you appreciate what you're doing and enjoy it and understand and have a greater purpose in what they're doing. Like sometimes when you feel like you're just going through the motions, that's not why I sounded like that. I was trying to figure out how to move into the next layer, and sometimes you get caught up. And I'm just glad we're at where we're at. So recent chatter surrounding a large-scale burn of Ripple's XRP has caught significant attention within the community, with prominent accounts amplifying the unsubstantiated rumor. However, there are no indications that the San Francisco-based giant is preparing to burn tokens from its escrow wallet. See, remember what we talked about yesterday? For anybody who was in here, maybe you've heard me talk about it in the past. I think there's a reason we have the 100 billion tokens. For the institutions and the banks around the world, I think it makes perfect sense. So I don't think it would make sense to have a large-scale burn with what our technology is. I mean, that's just what I think. So I think we're doing the right thing here with these escrows. The more I look at it, how they release 1 billion a month, and then they put it back, somewhere between 25 and 60%, maybe even more. I think they're locking them back up, and it could have ulterior motives, and that could be the way that they have enough collateral and the on-demand liquidity to support a unilateral shift in the banking sector by 2028. Is it any surprise that this escrow runs out sometime mid to late 27? I don't believe in coincidences. I think they're laying the foundation and the track for us to follow. And as long as we don't get caught off guard by all this FUD and let our emotions get the best of us, think about how this sounds, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think they would have a release of us? They would be dumping it in from escrow every single month, 1 billion tokens, just to lock them back up, just so that they can burn them? Or would they just burn them instead of locking them back up? Do your own due diligence, and what makes sense is what makes sense, and what actually would end up being reality is what makes sense. If they were going to large-scale burn them, they would just burn them after they did what they did. They wouldn't just relock them back up just to burn them. That doesn't make any damn sense to me. The speculation was intensified by a fake news article on investing.com. Notice I skipped that, Terry. I didn't read that article. Terry understands why. Suggesting that Ripple is contemplating a large-scale burn of its 41.9 billion escrow tokens. This move, according to the fake news article, is being considered due to the bearish performance of XRP in the market and the potential positive impact it might have on the XRP value. That's a 0% relevant answer. They couldn't care less what the price is on the market. Are you kidding me right now? The price being down is better for institutional investors to buy in. What kind of crackpot theory are they trying to sell us here? I mean, come on now. And this actually got attention from the mainstream Ripple YouTube. I mean, I don't understand. Despite not citing any sources, the article has attracted significant attention within the community. I bet it did. This is exactly why I can't watch many people that talk about XRP. Like, this is what was going on today. This is why some of the comments, we're very positive here, because this is why you want to stay out ahead. And when I read an article, and Terry, you help me realize, Mark, welcome in. CJ2 Pilot, good evening. Thank you, Mike, for validating that, what I was saying. John Patak, well, Bitcoin ETF, the Bitcoin ETF will play effect. There was a deadline today that Gary Gensler kind of blew off that he wouldn't talk about, so that was interesting. But Terry, I understand what you were saying. I'll read the article, but I'll put my own, I'll talk about it as if, from my experience, so that I can at least put us in the right direction. As reported by you today, former Ripple executive Matt Hamilton recently suggested that Ripple could render the XRP in escrow inaccessible, technically burning it by disabling the master key on the destination account. However, he stated that the whole process would take years. I mean, they took that into what it was. Back in 2020, David Schwartz, Ripple CTO and the main architect of its software, said XRP owners can opt to lock or destroy their tokens. I mean, guys, of course you could do that, but why would you do that? Now you have no money. Do you see the perpetrated stuff that was pushed on us today? There was a lot of good news here today, what we could be looking at, but this just overtakes it all. But listen what David Schwartz says, that if you're a custodial owner, you can destroy it or lock them away, but validators cannot simply erase tokens held in Ripple's escrow. Any attempt by validators to oppose Ripple and burn its escrow holdings could potentially stall the entire XRP network. I think some people need to do more due diligence before they put out this stuff. As reported by you today, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse has also expressed his openness to potentially burning XRP tokens currently held in the company's escrow, stating, "I don't rule anything out." And we went over this, remember? The amount they were willing to burn, it would have brought up a couple, like 500 or 600 million. So 600 million. So instead of having 99.6 billion tokens, you have 98.6 or 98.9 or 99. It doesn't matter. It has no relevance. Even if they burned it, it's not substantial enough. And then Stellar. Massive burn sets a precedent. Despite the news being fake, Ripple's rival has already set a precedent. The Stellar Development Foundation burned over 55 billion Stellar Lumens tokens, amounting to nearly 4.7 billion USD. This move was part of the foundation's new mandate aiming to streamline its operations. And boost efficiency with the burn. The total number of XLM tokens in circulation has been reduced to 50 billion. So, that's good. But do you think, on a one-to-one scale, do you think XRP, with the amount of scalability it needs and the amount of liquidity it needs, is in a position to have such a big burn? And what they're not telling you, like, what effect is it having on XLM's price? Does anybody know? Oh, that's right, it's dumping. Dumping. You know why? Because the circulation that's already on the market is already there. Unless they take from the current circulating supply. All they did was they dumped down from the max circulating supply. I mean, of 50 billion now. That's it. They dumped it down from whatever it was, 75 billion or 80, whatever it used to be. They've lowered that number. That doesn't do anything for today's price, though. They burned half of the supply that was over the 50 billion. So instead of going over 100 billion, yes, they burned what could be put into circulation. But if you actually pay attention to what's going on, the only way that a burn is going to make the price go down is if there's less than 27.7, or make the price go up, is if there's less than 27.774 billion in circulation tomorrow. You can cut that high budget number up all you want. That'd be like Ripple saying, well, we're not going to have 100 billion tokens. We're going to burn 25%. We're only going to have 75 billion. We'll do absolutely squadouche. Or I mean, XRP saying that, you know, it would do squadouche. That's it. It wouldn't do anything. Because you haven't taken anything out of the circulating pool. That's just like if you raise inflation. You could say we're going to raise it to $10 billion for every $1 bill you own. And then you can come back tomorrow and say, well, we're only going to raise it to 1.2 million. So, I know, Terry. I know, me too. But that's why I, honest to God, started doing this. I get a lot of slack, but I really believe that I have my purpose. And I believe all of you are here, and you're showing me that I really do have a purpose in this. So that's what I got tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Does that make sense to everybody? Honestly, does that make sense? I want to relax with everybody, and I want to watch Peter Schiff going out. But Julie's in bed because her ankle's like the size of a friggin' softball right now. So I'm going to go inside and help her, but I want to watch a couple more minutes of Peter Schiff with everybody. If you want to show me further support, you can always join Tom's Army. You can send a YouTube Super Chat if you like the fact that I don't do paid promotions, advertisements, or sponsorships of any kind. I would love to see more people in Tom's Army, but I understand this is a very difficult time in these times. So really the most important thing right now is for you to hit that like button and share this on social media so we can reach a wider audience. But right now I like the audience we have of over 18,000. That's a big audience. So, and I'll send Julie everybody's well wishes. So I'm going to hit this so you can finish listening to what Peter Schiff was talking about inflation. Thank you, JW and Jeffrey, Tanya, Mitchell, Terry, Crypto Scrooge, Mike, and everybody else who's here. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you.
So let's just, not even focus on the Fed, right? And just, let inflation do what inflation is going to do. I mean, I almost fell off my chair when I'm listening to this nonsense. This is what they present to the public.
And Terry, I'm glad you're here. You'll appreciate what Peter Schiff's. He's talking about the FUD and all the fake propaganda that's circulated on the public right now through inflation. And I think you'll appreciate this greatly.
But this guy hasn't figured this out yet. And I guess this is probably the case with a lot of other people. The Fed's policy didn't have no effect. It had a huge effect. This guy doesn't realize that the reason inflation is so high right now is because the Fed's policy worked. It worked in that it did cause higher inflation. It didn't work in that it stopped at 2%. No. They exceeded beyond their wildest expectations. Their policy did push inflation up. It pushed it up too much. It just did it with a lag. Now, again, part of the reason for the lag was the methodology used to measure prices, flawed as it was. So the whole time that the CPI was saying that inflation was below 2%, it was above 2%. So it was already there. They were already above target when they were trying to hit the target. You know, it'd be like, you know, you got a thermometer and it's broken. And so when you take your temperature, it has a certain reading, and the reading maybe is 98.6, and you say everything is fine, and the patient is getting sicker and sicker, and he's sweating, and he looks really bad, or he's got the chill, but you keep taking his temperature, and it's like 98.6. It's like, well, there's nothing wrong with the guy. Well, no, because the thermometer is wrong. It's not giving you an accurate reading on what's happening. You got to actually look with your eyes and throw away that broken thermometer and realize that you got a sick patient there. And that's what was going on with inflation. They kept looking at this broken thermometer that was like 1.7% inflation, 1.6% inflation, and they were.
And guys, I put FEMX on here because they're doing something with their futures trading stuff. If you're a futures trader, I'll show you it right at the end. It's not necessary for you to stay, but I will show you it because somebody asked me yesterday, so I put it in the Telegram. So I'll show you it before I leave.
Ignoring the fact that the patient is, getting very sick. But then the patient got so sick when the inflation rate just exploded, up, towards 10%. Then, of course, by then it's like, all right, yeah, we got a problem. This guy doesn't realize that the Fed created it. But the other part was the lag. Because the way this inflation entered the economy, it did it through the financial system. But that was how the inflation was administered. That's how the money entered the economy. It entered through the banking system and the financial sector. We didn't just start directly mailing money to people till we got the COVID stimulus checks. And that's what, put it up on steroids. But the money went into the economy through the financial system and then gradually made its way into the real economy. So the money had to go from Wall Street to Main Street. So initially, as the money entered the financial economy, the inflation pushed up financial asset prices, stock prices, bond prices, real estate prices. Those prices rose as a consequence of the money supply and the credit pushing them up. But as that money rounded the corner and
Shit, I should have shared this on the midday market report instead. This would have nailed it on the head, what I was trying to say earlier.
Its way onto Main Street, where people were spending it on real goods instead of financial assets, that's when you saw the price of food and energy and rent and used cars and all this stuff start to go up. Because people weren't using the money now to buy stocks, right, or bonds. They were using it to buy food. Right? So it took a while, though, for the money to flow all the way around over to Main Street. And that's why it took so long. But to say that what the Fed did, all those years of 0% interest rates and QE, that had no effect on prices, of course it had an effect. We are living with the consequences of that effect right now.
And everybody, if you haven't followed Peter Schiff, make sure you follow Peter Schiff. And if you're wondering why I never say anything about people like Peter Schiff, Mike Maloney, Robert Kiyosaki, and those kind of Jordan Peterson and those kind of people, when they show their little paid promotion or whatever, they've earned it. They're doing this for free when they get paid 6 figures to do speaking gigs. This guy's in the top 1% of the 1% of the 1%. But he does this for free every day. So if he's going to advertise and tell you certain things to be paid partners of his show, It's absolutely on the money. He deserves it. But me, I haven't earned that. I bring nothing else but my YouTube. I have nothing else to offer. So for that matter, I now give away that right to do paid sponsorships for the time being until I've done something of substance to where somebody would have to come here to see me speak for a paying fee. That's why I hold a grudge against everybody on YouTube and social media who's taken advantage of that, and it ruins their content. He's not risking his content. They're simply sponsors that are paying because they believe in this man's work. They believe in the fact that he is, he runs Euro Pacific Capital. He's just done it for years, so they want to be a part of his program. It's the opposite, though, when other people are using sponsorships. They're just trying to get an easy dollar. He's doing it for a different reason. This is actually paying him enough to be here, to where he could do the same thing and get paid 6 figures or more over the time he's doing it. It's just that simple.
Guy hasn't figured that out. And so, yes, the Fed can bring down inflation, but it needs to significantly shrink its balance sheet. We're still barely below 8 trillion. In fact, if you look at the numbers we got the Fed balance sheet, as we always do, on Thursday, and the balance sheet shrank by 3.7 billion. That's it for the week. I mean, that wasn't a big deal. And we're at 7.952 trillion. They need a far more substantial decline in the balance sheet. They need a lot more shrinkage to try to suck out all this inflation. But again, as I pointed out, all that cheap money is what drove a lot of spending and a lot of borrowing. And even though the money is less cheap than it was, the borrowing and spending are continuing unabated. And so the rate hikes have really had no effect yet because they haven't been aggressive enough, given how much inflation has already been created. And again, that's another thing that this guy and other people don't get. When the Fed spends over a decade creating inflation, again, remember, what did they say? And not just on our side of the Atlantic. The ECB was saying the same thing. The Japanese were singing the same song. We don't have enough inflation. Inflation is too low. We need to create inflation. Every central bank had a policy of we need inflation. We must create inflation. We don't have enough inflation. I was one of the only people that was saying that was such BS, that we needed more inflation like a hole in the head. We should have been glad that we didn't have more inflation. But the politicians made up this ridiculous 2% target and said we're not there and we need more. And so because of all the years of deliberately filling the pipeline with inflation, now we've got the deluge. Now we're beginning to see the consequences. We're on the cusp of it. We're early days in the process. Prices have a long way to rise to catch up with the inflation that's already been created. Forget about the inflation that they're going to create in the future. And they're going to create a lot. When nobody wants to buy U.S. Treasuries, when we get to that point where the bond market really starts to collapse and the Fed has to be the buyer of only reserve, yield curve control, when that happens, then they're going to flood the economy with even more inflation than what's already there.
Okay, so I'll continue this on the midday market report tomorrow. So if anybody, Tom, I see a podcast channel in your future interviewing the shifts of the world. Oh, that's, I could definitely see that, but I'm not big enough yet. And see that the thing to attract somebody like Peter Schiff or Mike Maloney, you got to have 50,000 or more. I don't even think they know I exist. I don't know, maybe I could be surprised, but I don't think those guys even know I exist yet. I'm just a blip on the radar. 18,000, it's a lot in terms of just an average person like me, but for somebody like them, I don't think they know I exist, but soon they will. Soon they will. At some point in the future, I will get my chance, I promise you. But it's going to take until 2028. So if you want to trade with FEMX, I put a link in the description if you want to buy XRP. This is if you're in the USA. It's the lowest spot maker fee. Somebody asked me a question. So yes, I will buy on FEMX, or I will sell through some of these other sites, and then I will send it to Kraken, and I can send, up to $10,000 there, or maybe more a day. I can take some off on Uphold. But yes, to answer your question, if I were to get set in a limit, that is how I could circumvent just having a $10,000 a day limit. You can send it off and make sure you have other accounts set up So that is what I do. That is actually what I do. So you can go here with FEMX if you're a futures trader, or if you just want to sign up. If you're signed up, use the link, and then this is something that's going on. Make sure you're taking part in this if you're a futures trader. I'm XRP Future Millionaire. If you got anything out of this, please make sure you hit that like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to show extra support, you can always join Tom's Army or send a YouTube super chat. And Crypto Scrooge says they will know about the XRP Future Millionaire. The world will sooner. And I think so. I think so. And thank you, everybody. Thank you. The ones from Australia as well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So XRP closed right. It was above 484, but it was not above our significant levels. This weekend, we still have this dot cross fully intact. I'll do an update probably later today. I still expect us to probably retest this on a thinly traded weekend. But if this candle breaks down tonight and we lose 478, look for a very bearish weekend. So just pay attention. We're looking to see the follow through move, just like XLM has already given us. Almost like XLM gave us some... So basically what I want you to do, look at this. Look at XLM right there. Right? That's XLM. Where's XRP at right now, ladies and gentlemen? Now you look at XLM all the way through. So you go from... So is it giving us the blueprint for what's about to happen with XRP? That's the question we ask, ladies and gentlemen. Have a blessed night. I thank you all so much for tuning in. You've legitimately...